I'm from Minsk, Belarus, and I have two questions. And before I'll have questions for you, I'd like to say thank you for recommending to read Intelligent Investor. It's a terrific book, and it reshaped me tremendously, literally overnight. So I'd like to thank you for that. And now the question. Say I'm an owner of the business, and the business has a durable competitive advantage and superior business model, and is run by able people. And then, I start noticing that basically management starts doing things which are far from intelligent. So what should I do as an owner, as an investor? Should I try to tell them how they should run the business, or should I just sit back and do nothing? Because superior business model should overcome poor management. That's the first question. And the second question is how important is nominal experience in the business of investing? And by saying nominal, I mean the number of the actual time you've been in the business, as opposed to real experience that also includes experience you acquire from, say, Ben Graham or you or Peter Lynch when you read books. So those are the questions.
On your first question, did you assume that you had control of the business, or you just owned a marketable security?
Yes, if I own, say, 20% of marketable securities.
Well, the situation you described is not hypothetical in the first case. And I would say that the history that Charlie and I have had of persuading decent, intelligent people who we thought were doing unintelligent things to change their course of action has been poor. Would you agree with that, Charlie?
Worse than poor.
Yeah. So I would say that if you really think you're in with people that have got a good business but that are going to keep doing dumb things with your money, you'll probably do better to get out and get in with people who've got a good business and you think they're going to do sensible things with it. I mean, you've got that option. Now, you also have the option of trying to persuade them to change their mind, but it's just very, very difficult. I mean, it is, that's been something we've faced for 50 years. And initially, we faced it from a position where nobody even knew who the hell we were or anything of the sort. But so we've acquired a certain stature over time, perhaps, in talking on the subject, and we've written on the subject, and we still don't get very far. I mean, when people want to do something, they want to do something. And they didn't rise to become the CEO of a company to have some shareholder tell them that their most recent idea is dumb. I mean, that is just not the type that gets to the top. So I would say that as a matter of investment technique, and maybe as a matter of avoiding stress in your life and all of that sort of thing, that and dealing with smaller quantities of stock so it's easier to sell and buy and all of that sort of thing. I would say that it's better to be in with a management you're simpatico with than simply to be in a great business with the management that's bent on doing things that don't make much sense to you. Charlie?
Well, I certainly agree with that.
Second question, I gather, is sort of how much does our actual business experience versus book experience help us, or is it?
Well, I'd say, if you look at a person who has just like 2 years of being in the business of investing, and versus a person who has been for 10 years in the business of investing, and say the person who has been for 2 years, has read a lot about, Ben Graham's techniques and your techniques, and say Peter Lynch techniques. So would you say that the person who has only 2 years of experience may do much better than the second person?
Well, if everything else is equal, I mean, everything else is equal, except the amount of experience you've had. I think the experience is probably useful, but it isn't going to be equal. And I think it's way more important what you've thought about for 2 years than what you've practiced for 10 years. So if there's a divergence in techniques applied, I would rather be with the one that I'm philosophically in sync with. If I'm philosophically in sync with both, and one's had 10 years of experience, the chances are they will know a little bit more about more businesses if they've been around for 10 years looking at them than if they've been around for 2 years. But the biggest thing is that basically they've got their heads screwed on right in the first place in terms of how they value businesses and how they look at stocks, as whether they look at them as pieces of businesses or whether they look at them as little things that move around and that you can tell a lot by looking at charts or listening to strategists on or something of the sort. Charlie and I learned a lot about a lot of businesses over 40 or 50 years. But I would say that in terms of the new things that would come to us, at the end of the second year, we were probably about as good judges of them as we would be today. But I think there's a little plus to having seen more in terms of human behavior and that sort of thing than knowing about the specifics of a given business model. Charlie?
Yeah, I think that I've watched Warren for a long time now, and I would say he's actually getting better as he gets older. Not at golf or many other activities, but
stay with generalities.
As an investor, he's better. Which I think is remarkable. It shows that scale of experience matters.
Yeah, it helps somewhat to have seen a lot of business situations. I mean, Charlie talks about models, and you construct your models as you go along based on observation. And your models will, if you're paying attention, your models will be somewhat better the more years you spent really observing and not just trying to make everything fit into what you saw the first few years.